The special event that my family and I were going to attend this year was a town Christmas party. This party was being held at a nearby gazebo on Christmas Eve. There was about 300 people there. This is like a yearly tradition we do as a family. There's always food, music, and lots of things to do. My cousins always show up to the town party every year, so it's kind of like a way to spend some time with relatives and family. Around the time of this experience, we were about 13 years old. Sometimes the party would get boring, so our favorite game was hide and seek in order to pass the time. The thing about our game is that only our family members could play. There would be a lot of kids around the party, but we would only allow our cousins to play. When we arrived at the party, we sat down at the reserved table and had some pizza. After a bit of talking, my cousins and I got bored, so we decided to play our favorite game. This year, there was 6 people playing in total, my 4 cousins, my sister, and I. We couldn't decide who the seeker should be, so we went on Google and used to spin the wheel. The wheel landed on one of my cousins. His name was Ethan. Once he started counting to 30, we all sprinted away in different directions. I knew that the best spots to hide was in the back, behind the stage. This is because it's always dark back there, and there was a lot of storage items just laying around. I knew I was not allowed to go back here, since the owners of the gazebo always yell at us if they catch us, so I decided to sneak in. I made sure to look around multiple times, and once no one was looking, I opened the door and ran inside. Inside, it was pitch dark. There was a bit of light seeping through the curtains of the stage. This was enough light for me to see my surroundings and know where I was going. By now, I knew quite some time had passed, so I wanted to find my hiding spot, because most likely my cousin was already looking for us. I walked deeper into another back room and decided to sit behind a large box. There was no way for my cousin to find me. I was completely safe. As I was looking around the room, I happened to catch a glimpse of something that made my heart stop. In the corner of the dark room was a man standing there and watching me. I didn't know what to say or do. I felt like I was petrified. Why was a man standing here in the dark room? What am I supposed to do? I started to slowly back away from the box. I didn't want to be in the dark room anymore. As I was walking backwards, I kept my eyes fixated on a strange man. The man did not move a muscle. He just kept staring right at me. Once I reached the door to the dark room, I opened it and sped out. That's when I ran straight into my cousin, the seeker. "I got you," he screamed. "We need to leave. Let's go," I said. "Why? What happened?" "You won't believe this, but there's a crazy man standing in the corner of the room in the dark." "No, there can't be," he exclaimed. "Let's go in there, let's check it out," he blurted out. "Fine, I'm down," I replied. I led the way back into the dark room. The man was gone. "What the heck is happening?" I asked my cousin. "I don't know, but I don't want to be here any longer. Let's go," he said. That's when my cousin and I both left the room and went back into the main party area. My cousin later told me that he had a very strange feeling as soon as he walked into that room. Coincidentally, both our families were ready to leave the party early, so that's what we did. The next day, we found out that someone set fire to an instrument in the back room, behind the stage. Luckily, no one was injured, but a lot of that gazebo was burned down. To this day, I still have no idea who the man in the corner was, but I'm sure he somehow was connected to the fire incident. It was the day before Christmas Eve. I had just finished most of the paperwork and I was getting ready to close down the store for the night. I work as the manager at a retail store nearby my house. I actually own the store, and so I hired a couple employees to help stock. The store is fairly small, so on this particular night, it was just me and one of my employees named Johnny. Normally, During our late night shift hours, we rarely get any customers. But this time, right before we were about to close, a surge of customers walked into the store. Of course, I was a little annoyed, but we kept the store open until 10:15 p.m. The store normally closes at 10 p.m. sharp, but we decided to keep the store open a little longer for the customers that walked in. After all the customers left the store, I took the money out of the counter and brought them into my office. After each day, I have to count the money to make sure everything is set and ready for the next day. I normally stay an extra 30 minutes in order to get everything ready for the next day. After I brought the money into the office, I went back out and talked with my employee for a couple minutes. Once he clocked out, I asked him, "Did you make sure no one else is in the store?" "Yes, I did," he responded. And with that, I let him out and locked the front door and the back door. After that, I went back into my office and started counting the profit for the day. About halfway into my counting, I thought I started to hear a strange sound coming from somewhere in the store. I was a little confused since I knew no one was in the store after closing hours. So I continued with my job. But not even 30 seconds later, I heard that same sound again, but this time it was louder. It kinda sounded like footsteps. This time I knew something was wrong, so I decided to walk out of the office and look around the store. The lights in the store were turned off, so it was pretty dark. I took out my phone flashlight and walked towards the back cooler area. I entered the cooler and looked around, but I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. I then proceeded to walk towards the back of the storage area to check the very back of the store. This room is behind my office, where we keep some of the more expensive products. Once I entered the room, it was completely dark, but my flashlight was able to illuminate the entire small area. Crouched down, in the back corner, I could see a man staring back at me. I was petrified. "What are you doing in the store?" I said in a stern voice. There was no response. I didn't know what to do. "Sir, you have to leave. The store is closed," I said. Again, no answer. "If you don't leave, I'ma call the police." Once again, there was no answer. The man did not even move. I then decided to run back to my office and call the police and also stay locked in the office until the police arrived. I was not sure the man's intentions, and I did not want anything bad to happen. As I was on the phone with the police, I heard the doorknob to the office slowly start to turn. Luckily, the door was locked, and there was no way for the man to get in, or so I thought. The man then did the unthinkable. He started kicking the doorknob in hopes of breaking down the door. The door was made out of wood, so the doorknob was easier to break than I thought. It only took a couple kicks and the door opened. Now I was forced to fight back if he came into my office. To my surprise, he walked into my office and he started swinging at me. I then was forced to punch the guy. After a couple punches, I was able to knock him out, which put an end to the story. By the time the man woke up, the police arrived, and they arrested the strange man. This was a terrifying experience for me, which made me realize that I need to reinforce the locks in the store. This story took place on Christmas Eve. Both of my parents were at work, so I called some of my best friends to hang out. It was a cold winter night, around 7 p.m., so only 3 of my friends agreed to come to my house and hang out and watch TV. I told my friends to arrive at my house in 20 minutes, and I used that time to walk to the dollar store and buy snacks. The store is located 2 minutes from my house, so it was a quick walk. At the store, I bought drinks and most importantly, Takis for everyone. Once I arrived back home, I ordered some pizza. The pizza luckily arrived at the same time as my friends, so we all sat down and ate the pizza and had a good time talking. When we finished, I took everyone to my room and put on the PlayStation 4. We all decided to play FIFA and have a tournament. There were 4 of us in the house, my 3 friends and I. We decided to 1v1, and the winners of both games would go up against each other in the final. I started my first game against one of my friends. At the end of the match, the score was 2-1 for my friend, so he was able to advance into the final. After the first game, my other two friends had their match. At some point during their game, the TV turned off. The power in the entire house went out. "What happened?" one of my friends said. I'm not sure. The power must have went out," I replied. "Don't worry, it will probably come back on in a couple of minutes." We waited around 5 minutes for the power to turn back on, but it didn't. It was completely dark in my room, besides the phone flashlights that we turned on. I decided to go downstairs and restart the power in the house, in hopes that it would fix the problem. I looked for the button and flicked it off and back on. To my surprise, the power was still out. I decided to go back upstairs to let my friends know about the situation. We were all confused until I got the idea to go outside and check on the fuse box on the side of my house. This was my only option at this point. I asked one of my friends to come with me because I didn't want to go alone. My best friend agreed, and we both walked downstairs and out the front door. We then walked to the side of the house, and that's when we noticed something crazy. The fuse box was completely smashed and shattered. There was no way to fix it. It was completely broken. I let out a "what the hell" as the fear and shock set in. "Let's go back inside the house," my friend suggested. I got the feeling he was a little scared, and I agreed and started walking towards the front door. That's when the loudest scream, coming from inside my house, broke the silence. Only, I recognized the scream. It was my friend's. I instantly broke into a sprint and ran upstairs towards my room where my other two friends were. Once my friend and I reached the room, everything seemed fine, while my other friend sat in the corner in fear. "What happened?" I asked. There's someone in your house," my friend replied. This made my heart drop. "What do you mean there's someone in my house?" I asked in fear. This is my friend's story. Apparently, as my other friend and I were outside, they saw a man walk through the doorway. Luckily, they had their flashlight turned off, so the man was not able to see them. "We need to call the police. We need to get out of here," I yelled. I told my friends to run towards the front door and leave. Right before we were about to reach the front door, we were stopped by the man. He was guarding the door. "You better leave my house right now," I screamed. The man didn't say anything, so I yelled at my friends to run towards the back door and leave. That's exactly what we did, leaving through the back door. We then jumped the backyard fence and escaped. Once we all reached our local park, I called the police and directed them to my house. When the police arrived, they were not able to find the man anywhere. Although this was one of the scariest moments in my life, I am glad the man never returned to my house.